What is up, everybody? What is going on? This is Anthony with VR365. Why is this trailer so loud? Hold on one second. Oh, I got the wrong trailer. That's why that trailer's so loud. Okay, here we go. Let's start this over again. Rewind. Okay. What is up, everybody? This is Anthony with VR365. Welcome to another episode of our show. We are a daily VR gaming discussion show. Yeah, we get into VR gaming news, VR gaming discussion. We talk about the latest VR games. We also talk about hardware, various drama. We absolutely cover the subreddits. We cover what's going on Upload VR, Road to VR, and other various video gaming websites. And we also just kind of cover the pulse of you, the VR gamer. You guys are out there in chat. We read your We read your chat comments and we talk to you about different things. Oh, MameFan got his Pimax. MameFan got his Pimax. And you know what? MameFan is an opinionated mofo. So he is definitely going to have some opinions on Pimax. But you know what? He probably needs a couple of days with his Pimax. One of the things that I would actually caution anybody, I'm going to take a quick sip of water real quick. Had to do that. But one of the things that I would caution everybody out there is if you get a brand new headset, use it for about 3 or 4 days. Use it for about 3 or 4 days. Try not to make any snap judgments. Try not to make any snap decisions about getting your new headset. And try a bunch of different games on it. Try games from different genres. Try games from different, try a game running it through Revive, a Steam game, an itch.io demo. Try a bunch of different stuff. Get a feel for it. And try not to make an immediate snap decision or a snap judgment about, really the judgment is what we're talking about here. Try not to make an immediate snap judgment about it because it takes a little while to get a feel for a headset. Like, I've talked about the Rift S. I tried it a couple times at GDC, but can I really make a logical take on that thing until I actually have it here in the VR365 studios? It's funny because you'll hear people talk about, like I was watching a MRTV video very recently, Sebastian, and he was like, I can't really make a comment on it until I get it back in the MRTV studios. It's like, we all got our studios, we've got microscopes and we measure it. We measure everything. We measure the amount of lumens that it's putting out and all of that. So you got to get it into your studio and you got to hold on to it for a little bit. But looking at what some people are talking about in chat, Stuart Gregerson says, holy S, the new advanced setting 3.0 is a game changer. Can now change the locomotion in any game, meaning I can finally play Carnage Chronicles as now I can snap turn in my small play area. What is that? Is that like a Steam thing? Is that for Steam VR? Advanced setting 3.0? I haven't actually seen that yet. See, one of the things I got to apologize to all of you guys that are out there is I'm back at work right now. I'm working at my normal job. And so the reason that this show started at 4 o'clock today is because I worked 6 hours and then I drove back home and I was able to get here in time to be able to start this show at 4 p.m. Now, the good news is, just talking about scheduling for a quick second here, the good news is Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Wednesday's tomorrow, right? It's Tuesday, right? Yeah, it's Tuesday. Okay, so tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday, we are going to start at 2 p.m. 2 p.m. Pacific. So almost back to where we were before, although I used to start at 11, so it's still really late to start at 2 p.m. But we're going to do 2 p.m. on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then Saturday, we're at noon. And then Sunday, we follow VR Roundtable. Monday and Tuesday is, of next week is in flux. I don't know what's going to happen there. But the point I was trying to make right now is that I unfortunately do not get as much time to look at everything. By the way, MainFan is playing Skyrim VR. It just popped up on my screen, just in VR, because we're friends on Steam. He just went into Skyrim VR on his Pimax. So yeah, MainFan is putting it through its paces. He wants to try the Pimax. He needs to take some time. He needs to take some serious time. Just relax and chill out. So yeah, Stuart Gregerson is saying, yeah, Steam VR Advanced Open Settings Overlay got a huge rework. You can now add snap turning to any game, move around any game freely outside of the bounds they set. So there's some cool, interesting things you could do with that, especially in like exploring the world, seeing things that they maybe didn't exactly want you to see. So yeah, that is kind of the situation there. All right, well, why don't we just go ahead and get into the stuff that we did want to get into today. And the number one subject of today is Firmament. Firmament, there is a Kickstarter. It is out there. It hath begun. It hath begun. So why don't we go ahead and check this out? We are going to bounce over here to our web-related browser. Okay, here is our web-related browser. Man, these fools have already clocked in 233K. 233K. On the very first day, right? This is the first day of the Firmament Kickstarter, to the best of my knowledge. Now, they're trying to get 1.2 million. They're trying to get $1.2 million. They've got 30 days to go. From Cyan, the studio that brought you Myst, comes a next generation narrative adventure. And yeah, so you can pledge $7 or more. You get to join their coffee and donut fund. You're basically buying a couple of the dev teams, a donut and a coffee if you're lucky. I don't know where they're located. Donuts are expensive nowadays. Okay, you pledge $30 or more. You get the game and a little more. That's actually not too bad. That's actually not too bad that you get the game. Now, the estimated delivery, July of 2020. Yes, so VR Game Rankings, we have this game coming in the second quarter or the third quarter of 2019. We have had this game, Firmament, on our most wanted VR game list for a very long time. Basically, ever since it got announced, we've had this game on our most wanted games list. And it's always been ranked very, very high because these are the developers of Cyan. These are the developers of Myst, Cyan Incorporated. These guys did Abduction, and they are a high quality developer. And this is really kind of, it's not a dedicated VR game, but this has been built a little bit more with VR in mind. And so that's kind of the situation with Firmament here. But you know what? I do have the Kickstarter video for this. Why don't we go ahead and check out the Kickstarter video for this, and then we'll come back and talk about it. This is easily probably one of the 10 most wanted PC VR games out there, so it is kind of important. It is kind of exciting. Let's go ahead and check it out. Let me go ahead and switch to the Kickstarter video here. And I'll bounce off the Kickstarter video if it starts getting way too boring, because I know it's kind of long. So we'll go ahead and start that up.
Hey everybody, this is Rand Miller here. Probably a lot of you have seen me in our last Kickstarter. Let me start out by saying thank you. We've done 2 of these so far, and they've been so satisfying and successful only because of the support you guys have given us. It's been amazing. We're so humbled and grateful for this way to continue our ability to make worlds. So thank you so much. And we're here because we've got something new for you. It's exciting. We wouldn't bring it to you if we weren't excited about it. Before we've got funding, before we were able to even know if we could do this project, we did a teaser because we were so excited about it. The name of the project is Firmament. We've also done even a little small slice of this so we could test it. One of the reasons we built a little vertical slice of the game is because we wanted to make sure that it was satisfying and interesting, and it was. We are a small indie developer, and we love the idea that what we're doing is not building games, but we're building worlds. And Firmament is the next world that we have in mind. Our games are typically solitary experiences. You explore these worlds on your own. This adventure won't be quite so solitary. There's this device that becomes part of this journey with you. It is an integral part of both the story and the puzzles. Firmament, like a lot of our games, has some interesting narrative, but Firmament especially, we don't want to reveal too much. You are gonna enjoy the ride. Puzzles that we're building, the friction that we're putting in the environments is kind of unique. It has some callbacks to Myst. We're kind of embracing this whole steampunk magic vibe, that cool machinery. Firmament is all about that. We're also going to have different worlds. You guys know that we always take you to very unique and interesting worlds, and the whole storyline supports that. It's diverse and interesting. We're building Firmament for VR. We love VR here. It's working really well. Those of you without VR, there will also be a flat screen experience for you. We hope you're as excited as we are. We like this project. We think you're gonna like it. It's a new IP. We are excited about the narrative, but now is our chance to see if you guys are excited about it, and Kickstarter gives us that opportunity. Check the tiers below, find one that works for you. We've got, of course, the usual goodies. Thank you again. I don't think I could say it enough. The whole idea of having fans and community that support us is amazing to us. That just blows my mind. We're still here, and we still think some of our best work is to come. So join us on Firmament, support us as best as you can, and we will try to give you yet another amazing world to explore. Thank you, guys.
All right, well, that is the Firmament Kickstarter video by Cyan Incorporated, and I gotta tell you, everything I saw there looked great. And I was worried for a minute here because when I was looking at some of the headlines today about this, I saw that it wasn't 100% VR, that there is a flat version as well. And I started to get like, oh no, I thought this was like really dialed in for VR. Because Abduction was not 100% dialed in for VR. And then they added VR to it. And I always thought that Firmament was like, okay, now we're all in on VR. Like, we're really in on this thing. We're really going to do this thing in VR, and we're all about VR. And then today, when I heard about the Kickstarter and I heard about a flat version, I was like, oh man, is this going to water down our VR experience? But everything I'm seeing, like all the visuals, all the set pieces, all of the way the puzzle elements work, it looks like it was tailor-designed, tailor-made for VR. Especially that little thing that is like floating around and you use it for different puzzles and that sort of thing. Kind of reminds me of Robinson the Journey. You know, the Higgs unit in Robinson the Journey. Kind of reminds me of Newton in Eden Tomorrow. A lot of VR games are doing that, and they're doing it for a very specific reason. They're doing it because when you're in VR, it's so much harder for the developer to make sure that they got you looking in the right direction. Because when you're in VR, you can look over there. You can look over there. You know, there's a million different places you could look, and it complicates things. But if you have some type of robot thing or some type of steampunk device that is floating around with you, it's talking to you, it's maybe interacting with you in certain ways, then it can fly over to a certain area, it starts talking, it draws your attention over there to that area, and that's the way it happens. And so I think it's a good idea. Everything looks beautiful. This looks gorgeous. I think I'm more excited for this game than I already was, and I already was excited because this is my type of jam. I'm not so much into the super hardcore puzzle games of like Myst and stuff, but I love the idea of world building. I love the snow. Like, I love these rocky mountains with the snow all over it and the setting. And then, you know, here's where we're seeing some artwork. They're showing us this, like, look at that artwork. That looks awesome. Look at the fires and stuff. Look at all of these like set pieces that they're building here. Now, the big downer, though, and it's a downer, and it's good to see they are all in on VR. These guys are older dudes, man. They've been doing games for so long, they're probably bored as hell with regular standard gaming, and I bet you VR gaming kind of came along and gave these guys new life. I mean, I would bet dollars to donuts. I'm not in their donut club, but I would bet dollars to donuts that the second coming of VR, which started to kick up around 2014, 2015, and all of that, and then VR got kicked off again, I bet you that reignited a passion of these people to start banging away and do what they did with Abduction, and then now they're doing it on Firmament. Now, the only real downer here is they're talking about July 2020, and July 2020 is a long time away. And then the other thing too is I was reading somewhere else, maybe it was Reddit or some other forum, they were talking about this, and they were like, well, if you guys really know Cyan Incorporated, if they're saying July 2020, that translates to second quarter 2021. You know, they're unlikely to make that July 2020 launch date. But they have built some stuff. Like, this isn't the first time we've ever heard of Firmament. We've heard of them before. We've heard of this game before. We've seen some footage before. I didn't know that they like created a vertical slice, maybe to try to get some funding or whatever, or just kind of experiment with it. But now they have their Kickstarter. And a lot of people wonder, oh my God, this is such an incredibly ambitious Kickstarter. Like, they are trying to get nearly $1.3 million. Is that possible? Most people that are talking about this think that there's no way that they're actually going to get funded here, but they probably will, because they did it with Abduction, and they did it with, look at it's going up as we're talking, you know, they did it with Abduction, they did it with the 25th anniversary of Myst. They've done Kickstarters before, and their fans show up. Their fans love this type of game. It's a very particular type of game. Nobody really does it quite the way that they do it. Although this genre in VR is a more popular genre. Like, this genre is almost tailor-made for VR in the same way that like real-time strategy, horror, driving games, there's certain genres that just work very well in VR. And this genre is one of them. That's why it's kind of a perfect marriage altogether. But that's cool. I'm liking this. I have supported one Kickstarter. I backed a Kickstarter. It was for like Night Trap or something. You know, the Kickstarter actually it failed and I got my money back. But Night Trap did end up coming out. Somebody else financed it or whatever, and Night Trap did end up coming out. And that's the only Kickstarter I ever backed. And I backed it primarily because way back in the old Sega CD days, I used to love those full motion video games. I know they're garbage. mostly, but I used to love those old full motion video games. And when I heard about Night Trap, I did jump on that Kickstarter. But yeah, I mean, I think the visuals look beautiful. I love the snow levels that they got going on here. The interior scenes, all of it looks really good. And I think they're going to come through. I really do. I just think it may not be, July 2020 is what they're talking. I mean, we got to hope it's July 2020 because that's already incredibly far away, but it could be even farther than that. So we'll have to see what happens. But that is the Firmament Kickstarter. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and cover today's Oculus Daily Deal? And I do want to kind of get back into the normal routine of doing this show. Been a bit discombobulated. We used to cover the Oculus Daily Deal every single day like clockwork, and it got so chaotic here with all the new hardware, GDC, I missed a whole bunch of shows and all of that sort of thing, so we kind of got out of whack. But let's go ahead and take a look at today's daily deal. And here it is. Duck season is the daily deal today for Oculus. It is going for $15. It is a 25% discount. Normal price on this game is $20. I'm a fan of this, but I think you might want to even wait for a Steam sale and get it for like $10. I liked it. I enjoyed this. But part of my enjoyment is the fact that I had an old Nintendo Entertainment System. I had those old cartridges. I had an old TV, like the TV that's in this. I had old issues of Nintendo Power back in the day. And so the nostalgia on this was super thick. And then what I didn't even realize, though, is that this game kind of turns into a horror game. And it's almost Five Nights at Freddy's. Speaking of Five Nights at Freddy's, right? We just saw the Five Nights at Freddy's trailer yesterday. And that's coming to PC VR, by the way. It's not just a PlayStation VR exclusive. So Five Nights at Freddy's is coming everywhere. The other thing about Five Nights at Freddy's, it is being developed by Steel Wool Studios. So these guys have done VR games. These guys know what they're doing. I was almost a little bit more worried that it was like the original creator guy, because I'm like, does he really know about VR? Does he got the time to invest and get working in VR? And so Steel Wool Studios is doing it. But the reason I mentioned Five Nights at Freddy's, look at that dog in the costume thing that's like looking through the door right there. Does remind me a little bit of Five Nights at Freddy's. But, everybody's excited about Boneworks, right? Boneworks is a huge game that everybody is super hyped on. Stress Level Zero is the developer of Boneworks. And if you want to see their most recent game, it is Duck Season. So yeah, did want to highlight that real quick. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back over here to our standard scene. All right, now what else is in the news? Well, actually, hold on one second. Before I get into the news, we've got some comments that are kicking in. Gamer Casual says, hello all, and hello to VR365. Woke up this morning to a tweet from Carmack being asked if the Quest will be able to be tethered to PC. No plans, but I hope so, was his reply. Man, that would be great. Now, it's not going to happen. That is not going to happen, period, dot. And I'm going to tell you why it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because Oculus, in all likelihood, is taking a hit off every single Oculus Quest that they're selling. And they're taking a hit because it makes logical sense for them to take a hit, because they want to get this thing out there. They want everybody to own a Quest, and they want to get you into their ecosystem. And for them to make a Quest that just works with a PC, that doesn't help them in a major way. So I just don't think it's going to happen. Now, Carmack is really cool. He's a friendly guy, but he's not involved in that. So he could say, yeah, there's no plans. I hope so. And he's not lying. He's hoping that that's the case. But it's very doubtful that that type of a situation will happen. And speaking of the Oculus Quest, why don't we go ahead and jump into the Vive Focus Plus, right? Which is, we got the announcement today that Vive Focus Plus, I believe, is launching on April 15th for $800. $800. And that sounds ludicrous. It sounds absolutely ludicrous that that would be $800 and the Quest would be $400, half the price. But see, there's no subsidy. That's the difference. There's no subsidy whatsoever. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at this trailer for the Vive Focus. It is a Chinese trailer, so I don't know if it's going to be like in Chinese language and all this stuff, but it is the Vive Focus Plus. And let's go ahead and check this out real quick and see what it looks like. And we can talk about the Vive Focus Plus real quick before we move on to bigger and better things. Okay, so let's get this going. And you know what? I honestly think this is kind of perfect timing in a way that we have the Vive Focus Plus and it's $800, because I think what this does actually is it highlights just what kind of a value the Oculus Quest is. Like, I'm willing to pay $500 for the Oculus Quest with 128 gig storage. I'll pay the $100 upcharge fee because I know that even at that price, I'm almost getting it at, I mean, they might be making a small little profit off of that, but I think they're probably taking a loss on the standard Quest. And this is a good example of that because, you know, we got 6 DOF controllers over here. Now, this thing does a little bit extra. You know, you can hook it up to your PC. You can use a regular gamepad and you can kind of play PC games in like a big screen mode on your headset. You can access your desktop. We're seeing all of that, of course, in here as well. But what is, like, are they really going to be able to sell this? Okay, Focus Plus 5G. Now, that would be one thing. If there was a 5G modem that was actually in the Vive Focus Plus, I don't think there is, but that would almost justify a little bit of the reason that the price is so crazy high for Vive Focus. But why don't we go ahead and let's bounce over here to The Verge. They've got a story on this. HTC's new Vive Focus Plus headset is going to cost $800. It is shipping in the month of April. We've got a lot of headsets that are coming out all of a sudden. We might have a headset that's coming out in a couple of days here. We've got this headset that's coming out in the month of April. We've also got the HP Reverb coming out in the month of April. So there are a lot of different headsets that are popping all of a sudden now. So the Vive Focus Plus is based on Qualcomm's Snapdragon 835. See, I was wondering, did this jump up? Did it jump up to another Snapdragon? Because I was trying to remember. We've covered the Vive Focus, the regular Vive Focus already. This is the Vive Focus Plus. This is where they added the legit 6 DOF controllers. Now, the resolution is up there with the Vive Pro and the Oculus Quest. So it's got the higher resolution, 1440 by 1600. It's got, you know, inside-out tracking. It's got some little AR support as well. But it's kind of weird. I just wonder what kind of market this is really designed for, because now it could be used in a number of enterprise situations, because one of the areas where Oculus is kind of slipping a little bit is in terms of like arcade and location-based entertainment centers. Like, Oculus does not have a plan, to the best of my knowledge. They don't have a Springboard VR version of Oculus, and they should, but they don't. They don't. So when the Oculus Quest comes out in another month or so, you would think that location-based gaming centers, mobile VR arcades, regular VR arcades would be very excited to grab Oculus Quest and to use them in their business in that way. But if you cannot get access to all of the Oculus software, if there isn't some kind of setup for that, then you're kind of boned, because you'd have to sideload things, and then you have to cut separate deals with every little company to try to sideload something. Now, the one thing that the Vive Focus Plus is going to do is they are going to have support for location-based entertainment, for VR arcades, for commercial applications and stuff like that. Now, I know Oculus is also doing commercial applications and stuff with the Quest. They're going to do that, but they don't have a Springboard VR type thing. But I still don't know how well this thing is going to sell when it is basically twice the cost of the Quest, and it's not really improved over the Quest. In fact, you could probably make an argument that the Quest has better tracking, the Quest has better controllers. The only thing that this does that the Quest doesn't do is like hooking up to your PC and doing some of that stuff. But otherwise, I mean, it's probably more designed really for Asian markets. So anyway, that is the new Vive Focus Plus, and we did get some information on that today. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and go to our next story of the day. And you know what? Blade and Sorcery. Blade and Sorcery is a very popular game. It is sold very well. I've always kind of thought of it as a glorified tech demo that looks really good and has a wonderful trailer, and it makes the game seem way better than it is. I still think Blade and Sorcery is good. I'm not saying Blade and Sorcery is bad. I'm saying that Blade and Sorcery has been hyped up beyond probably what it really deserves. But having said all of that, it does look good. It does have that visceral combat. It does have some next-gen physics and stuff. What it doesn't really have is good AI for the enemies. But there is a brand new update for Blade and Sorcery, and there's a brand new trailer, and I think it's probably very bloody and whatnot. But let's go ahead and check out this trailer. Let's see what it's all about. I'm going to pump up the volume on this Vive Focus video here, and we'll switch over to Blade and Sorcery and check that trailer out. Well, you know, I will say this, it looks great. It looks great. This game looks so good in the trailers, but you know what? The one difference between this game from a trailer standpoint and actually playing the game is that every time in the trailer they show the guy like stabbing somebody or chopping off a leg or chopping off a head, they have a perfectly timed sound effect that really makes it so much more visceral in the trailers. But when you're playing this in real life, I don't get this hype factor. You know, like when you stick that thing and you jab it right into somebody's eyeball, it seems so incredibly visceral when you're watching it in these trailers. But like when I played this game in real life, it didn't have that same kind of hype level. And I felt like all the enemies were kind of brain dead, and they just didn't have a very good AI. Now, what this game does have, though, it has really good physics. Like, it really does have good physics. And they take that one battle axe, and they're basically putting it on that rope there, and kind of sliding down off the rope with the physics. The physics is good, and it looks like they've got a brand new area. You know, they're highlighting this brand new area that looks pretty cool. Maybe this is a game I need to revisit. And this might be a game that, like all of us at VR Roundtable, we might need to revisit this game. We might need to check in on this game. Didn't get a code for it, but we might need to bite the bullet and buy this game and check it again now that they've got this new level and these new areas and some updates to it. Might need to check it out again. But I kind of thought it was a glorified tech demo, but there's a lot of people that will rant and rave about Blade and Sorcery, saying, you know, it's one of their favorite VR games, period. Some people really do believe that the game lives up to all of these trailers. Very bloody, very violent. And when I was playing it, I didn't really feel like, oh my God, I shouldn't be doing this. You know, I didn't get that feeling, even though in the trailer it kind of makes you think, man, am I really going to want to do this? Am I really going to want to chop people's heads off and like stick a thing right into their eyeball and come out the back of their head and all of that? But see, the other thing too is, like, I never really saw something like a spear go into someone's head and have it all happen in slow motion. See, that's the other thing about these trailers, is they can stop it and do like a slow motion thing, and then they add the music in the background that makes it all stirring, and it kind of hypes it up. But hey, it's a great job. This is a great job of marketing. This is the real game. They're adding extra sound to it and sound effects, and they're hyping it up, and they're doing a great job of it. So that is Blade and Sorcery. I can't hate on it too much. Okay, why don't we go back to our webby browser here. I wanted to check really quick. Let's check Blade and Sorcery, actually. Let's check the Steam page. I wanted to see like how the reviews and stuff are doing. And you know, the good news too, look, very positive on all reviews, very positive on recent reviews. So maybe I'm in the minority. Maybe I'm kind of in the minority thinking that this is kind of a glorified tech demo. And it wasn't bad. And it wasn't bad. And even as a glorified, like, one of the things I'll say positively on this is, like, even though I kind of felt like it was a glorified tech demo, I still felt like for the price, it's, you know, it's only $20. Like, they're not charging $29 for this. They're not charging $24.99. It's $19.99. Official update 5 will be live April 4th. Okay, so all of this is hitting April 4th. Features of update 5. I don't know why they have it all hidden like this. Decapitation, dismemberment, draw cuts, like throat slitting. That is kind of harsh. That is kind of scary. We're going to get to a point at some point where the photorealism and then doing draw cuts, like throat slitting and stuff, eventually our government is actually going to have to step in and regulate some of this stuff. And I know you guys might say, oh, no, that's crazy. We should never do that. No, I think there's going to be a point in time where the realism gets so good visually and sound and all of that and physics and all of that. And then also in VR, you're doing the physical motions, like you're actually doing it. And so, like, slicing people's throats and like slicing open their bellies and stuff like that, at a certain point, that's going to get pretty harsh. And, you know, I mean, we're talking 10 years, though. We're talking probably 10 years. More grab points. You can grab arms, legs, enemy weapons. I did like that one scene in the trailer where he grabbed that guy's legs and was swinging him around and kind of slapped him into the other people. Wide HD for recordings for content creators and stuff like that. So pretty cool. Yeah, the trailers are fabulous. Who's ever doing their trailers, bravo, because they are doing their trailers very, very well. Remember, that was the famous, and yeah, just sticking it in the back, pulling it out. But see, this is all slow-mo. Now, you can activate slow-mo, and so I suppose if you perfectly time the slow-mo along with you doing something like that, and then pulling it out like that, you probably will get that kind of visceral action. And that, of course, was the money shot right there. We talked about this way before the game was ever out. I was like, oh my God, those are some next level physics to be able to hold your sword up, put that battle axe and swing it like that, to swing your battle axe naturally like that. And it really does have solid physics. Like you'll take your swords or your axes or your daggers or whatever you have, and you can bang them on a table, you can bang them on the wall, and you get a realistic kind of a feel for it, and that is good. I do appreciate that. So, you know, Warp Frog, they're making good money. I mean, wasn't it just yesterday I was talking about how No Man's Sky, we were looking at the Steam page for No Man's Sky, and it had like 100,000 reviews. And one of the things that I was saying is like even our good VR games only have like we're lucky if they have 1,000 reviews, right? That's actually pretty good if you have 1,000 reviews for a VR game. And this one does. This one does have 1,000 reviews. 1,268 all reviews, and it's very positive all along. So everybody that's getting this is still very pleased with it, and the price hasn't gone up. They're adding more stuff, and they haven't jacked the price yet. So I can kind of appreciate that as well. So that's April 4th is when this new update is coming, and I might need to have to take a look at this game come April 4th. Rudel Zavedno in chat says, I hate brainless violence. Give us good story in AI instead. Stuart Gregerson is talking about Tales of Glory, comparing that with Blade and Sorcery in terms of the fighting mechanics. Scion says, I haven't talked about my Patreon in a while. Yeah, you know, the thing about my Patreon, and I thought about it today, I need to thank my Patreon supporters. And what I do is I look up my Patreon supporters and I make a nice little thing that says, you know, today's episode was brought to you by Gary Haylock, or, you know, whoever it might be, right? And I need to do that, and I haven't done that. I've been busy and I haven't done that. And so don't worry about it. I will talk about the Patreon soon enough. But yeah, I do have a Patreon. I also have PayPal. You can do a PayPal donation. You can support my Patreon. I know there's a lot of people that are like anti-Patreon. They don't like Patreon, but I do have PayPal. Now you might wonder, well, why don't I just have Super Chat? Super Chat makes all the sense in the world. Well, goddamn Google AdSense. I've got problems with my Google AdSense. It's a long story. Don't even want to think about it. But let's go back over here to our standard scene. So we've been checking out some cool trailers today. And you know what? I got another cool trailer for you. I got another cool trailer for you. And this next trailer is Trover Saves the Universe. Now, before I do this trailer, I got to warn you guys, F-bombs everywhere, okay? You think that I fly F-bombs with reckless abandon? This trailer takes it to an entirely new level, okay? So if you don't want your F-bombs, you might want to mute this trailer, but Trover Saves the Universe is coming to PlayStation VR on May 31st, but good news for you PC VR fans that don't have a PlayStation VR, and you're not going to slum it with the PlayStation VR, even though it really isn't slumming it, but I know some of you PC VR snobs like to think that, right? Well, on June 4th, Trover Saves the Universe is coming to PC VR platforms as well, so that's really cool, right? Let's check out this trailer. Again, mute it if you don't want the F-bombs. I'm going to go ahead and pump the volume here on Blade and Sorcery, and we will switch over to Trover. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, let's do this. Trover.
Fuck this bullshit. Back to you in the studio, Chuck. Fuck you. I don't give a shit. Ahem. Sorry about that, folks. Clearly, Lots of outrage over these dogs.
I want a divorce too. And you're keeping the kids because you don't respect me. You push me, and you push me.
We are the abstainers.
Holy shit, that's what the abstainers look like?
Why can't you just respect that I don't want to rotate my chair? I don't want to be jiggling around.
They look just like the guy who's got the dogs in his eyes causing all this trouble. Shut the fuck up, Trover. No one needs to hear your commentary about everything. Fuck.
You gotta eat some shit, piss, drink some piss.
All right, and that's how we do it. Let's go.
You must find the Crystal of Ithacles.
Partner, we gotta find the Crystal of Ithacles. I have the Crystal of Ithacles right here.
Fuck you. Fuck you, you son of a bitch.
You stupid piece of shit. Oh, it's fucking crazy. Oh, it's fucking crazy.
I'm your boss. I'm the one who pays your bills.
Oh, it's fucking crazy. Oh, it's fucking crazy.
So I need you to shut the fuck up and do what the fuck I tell you to do.
Man, Trover looks good. I like Trover. I think this is pretty hilarious. I like the trailer. I know some people don't like it, but I think it's pretty hilarious. I had an opportunity, man. I could have tried Trover. I had Ghost Giant and Trover, and it was like, pick one. You can either play Ghost Giant or you can play Trover. I knew that Ghost Giant was coming on April 16th, and I kind of wanted to take a look at that. Because Trover just looks like a standard platformer. You're playing it in VR, and you're going to kind of have this third-person view, and you're going to have your Trover guy running around. And I'm sure that'll be cool. And I can enjoy a third-person platformer. Like, some people think of a third-person platformer in VR, and they have no interest whatsoever. They're like, I don't want to play those games in VR. But I've played them. I mean, we've got Astrobot. We know about Astrobot. I've played Bound. We've played, well, Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice. Lots of different games we've played that put your character there, and you're kind of removed from your character. I like the headset that they put on this guy. I was like, wait, is that the new Valve headset? Did they leak it? Is that the brand new Valve headset? But yeah, Trover looks good. Coming May 31st to PlayStation VR. Coming June 4th to PC VR. It'll be interesting to see how well it sells on PC VR platforms, considering it is basically a third-person platformer. And I know a lot of the people that are in the various subreddits, they love the humor of Justin Roiland, but at the same time, a lot of these people kind of hate a little bit on platformers and VR games that don't, you know, put you into the game with your boots on the ground and all that type of stuff. But I think it looks pretty good. So that is Trover Saves the Universe. Okay. Let's see, what else did we want to get into here? Oh yeah, well, we got to talk about the IPD thing. Yeah, the IPD thing just doesn't want to die, right? So this is a tweet that came out from Alex Holland, who used to work for Oculus, no longer works for Oculus, and she basically was kind of echoing Palmer Luckey's sentiments about the IPD problem. And that really did, you know, that did blow up yesterday. And I remember yesterday when I was talking about it, like, I was like, wow, this has like made other news sites and it's like kind of become a thing. But it actually kind of blew over pretty quickly. So I think Oculus kind of dodged a pretty good bullet on this one. Like, it's going to be forgotten. This whole IPD thing will be long forgotten in a matter of days here. Although the one thing I'll say is, like, you've got a lot of these YouTubers, right? Like Mike from Virtual Reality Oasis, Cass and Cherry, basically all these people like Nathy, all of them are going to PAX, right? And they're going to be trying the Oculus Rift S, they're going to be trying the Oculus Quest and anything else that might happen to show up as PAX as well. And it'll be interesting to see if any of them have any kind of IPD issues. But then you still got to wonder if they really do have an IPD issue. You know, Oculus just flew them across the pond. They're probably flying like first class, staying in very nice hotels. Everything is being paid for. You know, so, you know, it's subconscious, right? It's an unconscious bias. If somebody like if HTC Vive flew me to Hawaii to check out the new Vive Titanium or whatever, some new Vive headset, right? They fly me to freaking Hawaii. I can say all that I want that, look, no, they didn't buy me, man. I'm going to remain objective, okay? I'm going to be totally objective about this. But if you get flown somewhere and they're covering your hotel and everything, even if consciously you're trying to be objective, subconsciously you feel like you owe somebody something. So I kind of wonder about that. Yeah, and Conrad Lawrence is like, Anthony is so jealous. Kinda, maybe a little bit. Sure, maybe a little bit. I might be a little bit jealous. But let's go to our tweet window. Let's go to our tweet window so we can see what Alex Holand was talking about here. So let's bounce over here. This is our tweet window. And Alex Holand // at first I thought it was backlash. And I was like, oh yeah, this is backlash from the Oculus Rift S. No. Okay, so 59.5 millimeter checking in. Also worth noting that Rift S's fixed lens distance, 64 millimeters, is the average male IPD. Women clock in smaller at average 62 millimeter. Few people will be able to use this headset comfortably, but even fewer women. Disappointing to say the least. And yeah, Palmer Lucky was like, I wanted to love the Rift S. I still want to love the Rift S. 15 cents worth of plastic makes that impossible. Would it really only be 15 cents worth of plastic? Like, would they really make that kind of a decision to save 15 cents for every single unit that they ship? It seems crazy to me. Like, I would think it's more than 15 cents. First of all, for it to have proper IPD adjustment, you got to have two screens. So that changes the pricing altogether, right? You're going to two screens now. You might say 15 cents worth of plastic for the HP Reverb, because the HP Reverb has two screens. There's actually two independent screens in the HP Reverb, but there's no actual IPD adjustment. Subconsciously jealous. That's Falcon LX 911. Bravo, Falcon LX 911. Bravo, subconsciously jealous. I love it. Alexander Ritter says, I don't get all this IPD bashing. Wait, hold on. Oh, message retract. Ah, damn, I just got shackled right there. I don't get all this IPD whatever it was, but the message was retracted. So we don't know. Okay, but yeah, you know, the IPD kerfuffle, as it's going to be known, I guess, this is going to blow over very quickly. It really will. So she is a former Oculus Rift employee. And the other thing that Oculus can say is, hey, these are all former Oculus Rift employees, right? So these are just disgruntled ex-employees. Like, these are employees that no longer work there, and they're just throwing a little shade our way. And that's pretty much all it is. But it is a real issue for some of us. But, you know, no one is putting a gun to our heads. No one is putting a gun to our heads, forcing us to buy a Rift S. You can stick with your regular Oculus Rift, and you can grab another Oculus Rift at a real nice discount now that everybody's flooding eBay with them. In fact, I shouldn't say this, but somebody on VR Roundtable, I'm not going to say any names, but somebody on VR Roundtable, I believe, has already eBayed their Oculus Rift, if you can believe it, and got some good money for their Oculus Rift. So, you know, you can grab another Oculus Rift off eBay if you got an IPD problem. But yeah, why don't we go ahead and let's go back to our webby browser here. But what we can do is, let's see if I can get the right thing and figure out what the hell I'm doing here. Let's go to the Oculus Rift subreddit, and let me go ahead and give this a refresh, because most of the drama has been happening on the Oculus Rift subreddit. And you know, here's actually a good little picture right here. Let's click on this. Let me click on the comments here. Okay, and so when everyone is mad over Rift S, but you're happy about No Man's Sky VR. Yeah, all these people that are kind of pissed off, and he's happy because he sees a nice little butterfly. So yeah, there is that. I mean, we've got everything to be happy about with everything that happened yesterday. Remember, dude, No Man's Sky is a big deal. It really is a big deal. And I've got to, on VRGameRankings.com, I got to fix all the most wanted charts. I did PlayStation VR a little bit. I need to update that even a little bit more. But if you've been to VR Game Rankings and you're wondering why it doesn't have everything on there, don't worry, I'm working on it. It's all going to be good in a little bit. So yeah, what Oculus S reminds me of, but I was just seeing, okay, here it is. 59.5 millimeter checking in. Also worth noting that the Rift S fixed lens distance, 64 millimeters is the average male IPD. Women clock in at an average of 62. I can tell you right now, man, if you're in the low 60s, you're in a good spot, because that's the average for men and women. More in the low 60s, I'm boned. I'm boned with an IPD of 70/71 or whatever. Palmer Lucky is boned. All of us with big Mark Cuban heads, we are boned. Okay, so let's see what some of the people are talking about here. The Go, which is probably sold well over 1 million units by now, doesn't have a fraction of the uproar over IPD as the Rift S, which hasn't even released and barely been tested. That is true. This is absolutely true. And the other thing is, the Go doesn't even have a software IPD adjustment. This is something that Norman Chan from Tested inquired about this with Nate Mitchell in their interview, you know, when they were brought in and they got that private demo where they got to see the Rift S and the Quest and all of that. And they had an interview with Nate Mitchell, and Norman Chan asked him, he said, hey, you know what? The Go doesn't have a software IPD adjustment. Is there maybe an opportunity that you could bring that software IPD adjustment to the Go as well? And Nate Mitchell kind of dodged that pretty well, but I think he kind of said, yeah, maybe, you know, that might actually happen here. And then we've got PSVR doesn't have a hardware IPD adjustment either. But Palmer Lucky did kind of make it clear that PSVR has a much larger sweet spot than the Go due to the larger, heavier lenses. Now, I know PSVR does have completely different kinds of lenses compared to basically every other headset out there. They used higher end lenses that are much heavier, and there is a bit of a weight issue with PSVR when you really think about it. But I've always thought of PlayStation VR as having one of the tiniest sweet spots there is in terms of, because every time I put a PSVR on my head, I feel like I always got to make micro adjustments up a little bit, micro adjustments down a little bit, maybe squeeze it a little bit this way, maybe even off kilter a little bit. What I do every time I put on PSVR is I try to find some words, and I'm trying to get the words in the center of the screen as clear as humanly possible by moving my headset just a teeny bit up or a teeny bit back or a little bit to the side or whatever like that. And I've always thought of PSVR having a tiny sweet spot, but it does have these much larger, heavier lenses. Okay, and so in chat, somebody was saying, wait a minute, the Go is a $200 product. We expect more from PCVR. Yeah, I mean, bottom line, it was bad luck for Oculus that Palmer Lucky happens to have a 70 or 71 IPD because it created a major uproar. And then, you know, Alex is checking in as well, kind of commenting on it. And so we have a little bit of an uproar over this IPD thing, and everybody's talking about it. But it's going to blow over. This is going to blow over pretty quickly, and it's going to be water under the bridge. In a couple of months, no one will ever remember any of this IPD stuff. And the thing that I've come to understand in regards to the entire IPD situation is I've noticed I have a Go, I have PSVR, I have an Oculus Rift, and all of these things kind of wear on my eyes after a while. And I think the way it is like if you get a 15-minute demo, a 20-minute demo, a half an hour demo, you're not going to notice the problems with having your IPD way out of whack. You're going to notice it when you start playing for an hour, because you're going to have additional eye strain, additional discomfort. The 3D is not going to be as 3D as you really want it to be. Roy Schwartz says IPD is adjustable on PSVR via software. It has software-based IPD adjustment. And Palmer talked about software-based IPD adjustment, and I don't remember the exact details of it, but one of the things he was talking about is there's like 3 or 4 problems that happen with the IPD, and the software adjustment fixes one of those 3 to 4 problems. So the software IPD adjustment helps one of the problems, but it doesn't help the other ones. The other ones you can only help by actually having legitimate physical IPD adjustment. And we're not getting that with the Rift S. But you know what? We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Oculus knows what they're doing. They know that there's going to be a small segment of the population this is going to affect. But again, it's only going to affect you if you're playing for long periods of time. There's going to be some people that order a Rift S and their IPD might be like 72 or 73, or their IPD might be 58 or 57, and they're not going to notice much of a problem because maybe they don't play a VR game for an hour and a half straight. That's kind of my situation. Like I've normally play in like 45-minute bursts, 35-minute bursts. I take a bit of a break. I come back into VR. And maybe I've kind of avoided a lot of these like serious eye strain and headaches things because I'm not in there for 2 hours. But I've always wondered, I've always thought people that were in there for 2 hours are crazy. I've talked to MameFan about it. I said, man, you're crazy. You could play VR for like 3 hours straight. That is crazy. There's no way I could do it because when I'm done playing VR, it's kind of wears on you after a while. And he's like, I don't have no eye strain. Everything's perfect. And he's probably got a 64 IPD. Man, some of you guys that have perfect IPDs, like 64, 65, 63, you don't know how lucky you really are. Okay, where did Palmer Luckey come up with a 70% statistic? Why does Alex Howland think that the Rift S will only be comfortable for a few people? Okay, well, let's see the, and then what is your IPD? Like, IPD is really blown up, man. This whole IPD thing is really blown up. And it's kind of made me want to know, like, what my real IPD is. You know, let's see what this straw poll is. Oh, okay. I guess you got, okay, so I'm going to vote for 70, guys. I'll put my vote in for 70. I'll say my IPD is 70. And so 64, 63, 65, then it goes to 62. And we start to get in problems right here. 6%, 58 or less, you know, 72 or more. You know, so that's kind of the way it's breaking down on our straw poll. Of course, a lot of these people don't really know what their freaking IPD is. They're kind of guessing it. And then Paradise Decay, he was talking about doing this ruler trick. See, I always heard that the ruler trick will actually give you an incorrect IPD. So I don't know. But CFC Moon 1 says, my IPD is 68 and it was impossible with the Go. See, the thing is, I can use the Go, but the Go doesn't look as incredibly gorgeous as I think it does for most people because my IPD is wrong. Like, I feel like the binocular whatever thing is like way off, and I feel like things aren't as 3D on the Go as they might be. Hussein X says, Anthony, your IPD may be 71 millimeters, but at least you're 6 foot plus tall. Well, you know what? I got boned, though, because I was standing right next to Sebastian of MRTV. He's basically as tall as me, and he was saying his IPD is 66. So why did I get stuck with a freaking O.J. Simpson head. And freaking Sebastian has a 66 IPD, lucky dog. I wish I had a 66 IPD now. Yeah, so we're going to have to get surgery to like make our eyes closer together or something. I don't know. Person says, I bought a digital caliper to measure my IPD and for when demoing my Vive to people. The thing though is I heard that you got to focus on some long distance thing when measuring your, like there's a certain trick to doing it. Hussein X says, yeah, the ruler thing. It can vary depending on how close the ruler is to your face. Hence, you can't trust it. It would be nice if there was a machine that you could go to, you stick your head in, and it really, really determines your IPD. Like when we get to that day of VR headsets that have eye tracking built in, the eye tracking can go, you know, and it can analyze your eyeballs and know exactly what your IPD is. And then we're going to know what the real deal IPD is, right? So, yeah, there is that. Yeah, and VR Spry Guy says, this IPD talk is making me want to visit my eye doctor. Yeah, I went to an eye doctor, and I went in there and I said, hey, I was wondering, could you tell me what my IPD was? And this lady brought out this freaking contraption and was like, yeah, stick your eyes in here and look at that. And she's like, yeah, about 71, 70, something like that. I forget. So anyway, it's kind of one of those things. But yeah, guys, all right. Oh, there's MRTV. He's checking in. He's got a 64 IPD, and he's tall as me. How is that possible? You've got one of those, like one of those heads, like the freaking voodoo doll from like Africa, right? You know, where they got the shrunken head. But no, when I was with Sebastian, he had a normal sized head. It wasn't like a little peanut head. From my memories of standing right next to Sebastian, it seemed pretty normal to me. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But anyway, guys, I'm starting to be starving. It is getting close to dinner time here, so I need to bounce the heck out of Dodge. But of course, I will be back tomorrow, like always. That is what VR 365 is all about. VR gaming news and discussion 365 days a year. So yes, I will be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific time. So it's going to be 2 hours earlier, guys. 2 hours earlier, 2 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow. That will be Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We're going to be doing it at 2 p.m. Pacific time, Saturday at 12 noon. So the good news is we've had plenty of stuff to talk about for all of these shows. It hasn't been a craptacular show. When is the craptacular shows going to come? Will it be tomorrow? I hope not. Hey, we had the Vive Ecosystem Conference happened in China, right? And I guess there was nothing that came out of that. So I guess we'll have to wait for Thursday, PAX East. Maybe Vive is at PAX East? What the hell is HTC doing? Like, seriously, what is HTC doing? Like, they've dragged this whole Vive Cosmos thing out as far as they could possibly go. What are they doing here? But anyway, guys, I will be back tomorrow around 2 p.m. Pacific time. I will see everybody then. I will probably play some Space Junkies. I'm going to get into some Space Junkies. I'll have my thoughts on the retail version, you know, basically the final version of Space Junkies. So I will be talking about that a little bit tomorrow. I might even have some codes to give away for Space Junkies. I can't absolutely guarantee it, but I might have a couple of codes to give away for Space Junkies as well. But anyway, check me out on tomorrow's episode. I will see everybody then. Have a wonderful day. Take it easy, and later.